Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio. Brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Atlanta Business Radio, and this is going to be a good one. But before we get into it, it's important to recognize our sponsor, OnPay. Without them, we could not be sharing these important stories. Today on Atlanta Business Radio, we have Frank Dalton with Fulcrum Equity Partners. Welcome, Frank.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, before we get too far into things, tell us about Fulcrum Equity Partners. How are you serving folks?
Gladly. Well, Fulcrum's a growth equity fund here based in Atlanta. We were kind of founded in the 2005 timeframe by myself and Jeff Muir and Tom Greer and Austin Gardner. Fast forward now, 15, 16 years, we now have $600 million under management. And, we invest primarily in a couple areas. We do a lot in healthcare services. And we do a lot in kind of the B2B software recurring revenue businesses. And also we invest somewhat in the managed service or what they would call technology operating businesses. So those are kind of the three buckets. We cut checks kind of on the low end of $4 or $5 million, and we can go up to $30 million over the life of the investment. So we position ourselves as a very, very strong financial partner. Additionally, I'll add, all of us have been operators before, so we've run companies over the years similar to what we invest in. So we kind of have this operator DNA, entrepreneurial DNA in us that's makes us somewhat unique and gets us very active in our companies. We provide a lot of value. So we've had a nice run, good track record, and we just closed our fourth fund a few months ago at $275 million. So we're very, very active. So now also have a very interesting investor base of high net worth individuals, several CEOs of companies that have come from where we invest, as well as family offices, foundations, universities, and some large institutional investors. So we have a very broad LP base also.
Now, talk a little bit about how you decided to go the VC route. You were, I guess, I'm assuming part of a venture. You exited. You probably had a good exit. Why did you go down the path of getting into investing in other firms rather than just go on to another firm and, successfully lead another organization? Yeah,
so when we started, I actually came from another fund called Cordova Ventures. They were one of the early funds back in the day. They kind of wound down, and I was lucky enough to join Fulcrum and found that firm. But you start off kind of small. Our first fund was only $40 million, but we've had some success over the years, and we've built kind of a nice platform. We have around 16 people now. So we're building a kind of a long-term platform that can scale and stay around for a while. So no reason to leave.
Now, how when you're choosing companies to invest on, what is something that catches your eye? Like what's some advice for companies that are looking for funding to stand out in the eye of a VC?
Well, there's a lot of different things that to answer that question. It's also somewhat related to stage. We're more of what we would call a growth equity fund, which is a little bit later stage. We're not seed stage. We're not dirt stage. We're not necessarily venture stage. We're probably a little bit late venture or in growth stage. So there's a lot of, I think, nuances that you look for at those different stages. But, a couple of things that jump out of us are the team. Can they take it to the next level? How fast are they growing? Can you build a very nice platform that we can grow 2-3 times and then exit to a strategic or private equity? We always look at, the TAM, the total addressable market, very important what we look at. And I always am very interested in the problem they're solving. How big a problem is it? Is it a must-have or nice to have? So there's a lot of pieces to it. But those are just a few of the things that kind of get our attention that we focus on. Since being a growth equity firm, the actual growth rate and how fast that company is growing is very important to us. Can it grow 50, 100% a year, with our additional money that we put in?
Now, since you've been doing this a minute, can you talk a little bit about how the Atlanta scene has been from where you're at, kind of the growth stage companies to, like you mentioned before, the earlier stage, maybe even the angels? Like, how have you seen the maturity of the Atlanta equity community grow?
Sure. Well, I actually moved here in '78, so I've been in Atlanta a long time. I had a long career in the accounting business, but I took a detour there in the early '90s and joined Cordova. So I've been part of the Atlanta tech scene for a fairly long time. It's changed quite a bit, certainly in recent years. There's just a tremendous amount of opportunity here. There's a lot of new company formation, as well as new fund formation, which has been quite beneficial. There's also been, a good many new angels that have popped up. People that have exited their businesses are now investing. Another kind of interesting thing, when I got into business, people had a tendency to sell out a bit early and kind of move on. You sell a company, make $5 or $10 million, you can do pretty well here in Atlanta, have a nice life. But I think that's changed over the years. People are thinking bigger visions, and you can see we've had some recent, great exits and several new unicorns. So the ecosystem has changed a lot. There's a lot of talent here. There's been a lot of successful exits. Over the years, there's just been some huge exits that have spurred, more companies such as, Dun & Bradstreet and got HBO Systems, all these names, Scientific Atlanta, several fintech deals, Internet Security Systems. I can go on and on. Those kind of exits are just so key to an ecosystem because they spur on, other companies, other people that made money can go invest. They can start their own companies. So there's certainly been a lot of change. And another thing I'll point out, I guess, several years ago, there wasn't a lot of early stage funding, seed funding. There seems to be a good bit of that now. There's power angels, a few new seed funds. So it's a pretty active investment community now. And of course, we are on everybody's radar screen. So your access to capital from the funds up north on the West Coast is pretty seamless if you have a good company.
And I'm sure when you started, it was primarily kind of the West and the Northeast were where most things were being funded. Now Atlanta is part of that equation to some degree, maybe not as much as those other two, but still it's making its mark. If you were advising other cities that would aspire to be like in Atlanta right now, what are some of the qualities they have to have in order to have a thriving tech scene?
Well, I guess a couple of things jump out at me. You need people, you need management, and having such a diverse kind of ecosystem here of, various sectors, software, healthcare, IT, payments, fintech, internet security, sales and marketing technology. We have a very diverse tech community here. So having people in management teams where, if it doesn't work out, you can go find another job. Or if maybe, you need to replace some people because the company's got too big, you can go find some senior leadership. So people and talent, I think, is very, very important. The other thing I said earlier, having some exits of big companies where you can recycle those entrepreneurs. They go start another company. They take, kind of the money they made in an exit and go fund their next venture. So getting that kind of flywheel going, I think is very, very important. We're kind of doing that now. I would say somewhat, not totally at scale, but you can point to, several of those wins here recently. The other thing about it, we have some pretty good universities here. I mean, Georgia Tech's putting out, a lot of talent, a lot of engineering talent at scale. So that really helps. And that's another key part to the ecosystem is getting that, product and engineering talent at the very beginning.
And having that kind of support system and ecosystem that is from the student to the exit, and then so the founder can keep, like you said, kind of going around and around, that to have a deep bench allows that to happen, and to have a diverse economy like Atlanta has is kind of help us in a bunch of different areas. So that way, if something does implode, all the people have a place to land somewhere else to just keep trying again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I actually live in Florida and commute here to Atlanta, and Florida's making some progress, but historically that's been some of their challenges is you move to Florida, you get a job, it doesn't quite pan out. Where do you go from here? But I think that's changing down there, and we're obviously way ahead of the game. And so there's just a lot more opportunity here, a lot of places to go. The talent's coming in here. This is a incredible place to live. Cost of living is cheap compared to other cities. We got sports, we got restaurant scene, we got arts, you name it. Lakes nearby, mountains nearby. So it's just a great place to live, and I think very attractive for talent.
Yeah, and also this public-private kind of partnership we have where it's a very business-friendly environment to set up shop. Yeah,
I agree with that. A lot of the large companies now are very much supporting the technology ecosystem. They've gotten involved in some funds. So, getting access to those companies, for your first customer or beta are really important. So there just seemed to be a lot more collaboration going around with some of our major companies here in town, which is just fantastic to see.
Now, getting back to Fulcrum, why was it important for Fulcrum to get involved with the National Venture Capital Association? Why did you guys get involved with that group, and what does that help you do, and what do you do to help them?
Okay. Well, that's kind of our lobbying arm is what I'll put it. It's kind of our trade association, represents, kind of the different sectors in seed, venture, growth equity, and they kind of speak in our behalf around government regulations. We're looking to, create more businesses, fund more businesses. So they're trying to kind of take what we, our vision and get it translated into the government policy and things like that. Sometimes there's some policies that are, I think, non-productive to what our mission might be, and they're a lobbying arm for that. So it's very important, I think, to support that group. They're involved in some, a lot of different initiatives to promote, diversity throughout, our industry. It's been a challenge over the years, but we got a lot of things going on right now, which is just fantastic. So they're just kind of our trade association, our speaker on numerous issues, and where you can funnel a lot of the membership into a common voice. So a very important group for us, and they do fantastic work.
And part of that work is through the NVCA member spotlight program.
Yeah, that's I think a relatively new kind of program that they had. They're I guess trying to, historically, a lot of the money has been concentrated in, California, New York, Boston area. But over the last several years, it's changed quite a bit. There's just a lot other pockets now. Other cities are booming. I don't want to call them second tier cities, but there are other markets now that are just growing fast, and things like Nashville and Cleveland, Ohio, just some other regions that maybe have not been on the spotlight are now getting the spotlight because there's a lot going on in those places. It seems that in my travels, there's probably not a city that doesn't have a growing technology infrastructure and excitement and ecosystem going on. So I think the NVC has been kind of going around the country and highlighting, exactly what's going on with these cities so people can collaborate more.
Now, do you find that the industry is very collaborative?
Yeah, I would say, it's competitive, but we're very collaborative. Maybe regions might be more collaborative than other or more friendly. We're pretty friendly here in the Southeast, but it's still very competitive. But I would say as a whole, we're very collaborative. It's kind of built that way a little bit because you got, early stage funds that grow companies to the next level. And then, the growth equity guys will grow them to the next level, to the buyout guys. So, there's I would say, a pretty strong built-in collaboration because these companies kind of go through the whole gamut. And, it's important to have relationships as a growth equity fund. It's important for us to have good relationships with the smaller funds that are seeding these companies. And it's important for us to have, strong relationships to the larger funds that buy our companies. So I would say it's fairly collaborative, yes.
Now, what do you need more of? How can we help you?
Well, from our perspective, we're always looking for, kind of the new deals and fast growing companies that we can invest in. We're always looking for good people. One thing about investing in companies, there's always different talent and skills you needed as you grow a company. People that found companies are not always the ones that can take it, to 20 million in revenue, and that's okay. So we're always looking for talent. We're always looking for new companies that, want to be funded and want to get to that next level.
And if somebody wanted to learn more about Fulcrum, what's the website?
FulcrumEP.com, or just contact myself directly, FD@FulcrumEP.com. Check our website. We got a lot of information on it, and we're very open. Love to meet a lot of companies. Love to talk to companies, even the ones that maybe we can't fund right now. We'd love to meet them, get to know them a little bit, and in this world, sometimes they grow pretty fast, and before you know it, they're right in your sweet spot, or they've blown by you. So we're very important to establish relationships and get to know a lot of companies at all stages.
Well, Frank, thank you so much for sharing your story today. You're doing important work, and we appreciate you.
Well, Lee, thanks for having me. I enjoy it.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We'll see you all next time on Atlanta Business Radio.
Today's episode of Atlanta Business Radio is brought to you by OnPay, Atlanta's new standard in payroll. To learn more and get your first month free, go to onpay.com.